Welcome to All Change, the programme that puts design at the heart of the learning experience. Today we're at Sherborne Fields Special School in Coventry, and over the course of a single weekend we're going to be transforming a classroom for children with autism. Sherborne Fields is a mixed special school for students aged 2 to 19 with physical disabilities and medical conditions. Next term, the school is going to be taking a cohort of students with severe learning difficulties, some of whom have autism. We're developing a room for them to help them to contribute positively within their group and in the wider school community.
Sherborne Fields is a special school for special people. It's a mixed day state school for pupils with physical disabilities aged from 3 to 19. Some pupils have severe or profound learning difficulties, and the curriculum is tailored towards the individual needs of these students, who eventually work towards GCSEs and vocational qualifications such as City and Guilds and RSA awards. As the school will be having a new cohort of Year 7 students next term, we're going to be creating a special learning space for them. And also in today's programme, we visit a school designed more than 30 years ago that was ahead of its time. Its classrooms and breakout spaces still work well today. The Beehive School, designed to showcase new ideas in architecture. Now it's actually going to be built. And we showcase some products to help enhance your staff room.
Joel, see if you can see something here.
Sherborne Fields Special School was built more than 40 years ago and caters for students in Coventry and Warwickshire. There's a much more acute need for specific learning environments here than in most schools.
We cater for a tremendous diversity of need and ability. Children with quite severe physical disabilities, some with medical conditions, some with learning difficulties, sensory impairments and so forth.
And the room that we're working on this weekend, what do you want to get from that?
Well, the children who are going to be educated in that room have severe learning difficulties, and many of them have autism too. What we're endeavouring to create in that environment is a very simple, minimalistic sort of room, free of too many distractions.
It's because other special schools in Coventry are oversubscribed that a new cohort of children with severe learning difficulties are arriving at Sherborne Fields. Shalanda de Cruz Architects in Birmingham consulted with the school to design the new look for the room, which includes some mobile sensory units.
We looked at creating cubes, and the philosophy was that it was almost like a jewel box or a toy box or a jack-in-a-box, and that these things should fold out, sort of flap down, almost like a piece of wooden origami, I suppose, and then applied to these different textures so that they come alive. The other thing that we've done is to, through consultation with the school, to identify specific areas in the room which relate to specific activities, so that when the children are sat in the blue comfy space, they know that they're going to have a discussion, or if they're sat around the table, then there's work going on. Similarly, if there's a presentation going on, they can turn around to the presentation wall. So it's extremely structured. Really what we've done is to understand the needs of the children. They're central to the design. Really it's about containing architectural or design ego and looking at the needs of the people that we're creating the space for, and really trying to understand a very different brief.
The room has been a functional but not a vital space at Sherborne Fields and was a bit of a dumping ground for clutter. So it was out with it all before work started. The design for the room required a very subtle approach.
So John, something quite different this week, quite a specialised room that we're creating.
Yeah, but also a simple room as well, because of the learning difficulties of the children who are coming here in September. But because of these learning difficulties the children have, they have to be careful and have a controlled way of bringing in bright colours or shapes and the likes. So we're sort of making a muted room, but obviously we're going to add to that things like these little boxes, storage boxes there. which go onto these sort of carpeted areas so they can actually sit on the floor with soft seating. And they're covered in different sort of fabrics that are very tactile.
So sensory boxes?
Yeah, very much so, yeah. And of course they have a use as well, you can put things in. And obviously things like shelving and pinboards that they didn't really have. And we just, again, with the colour, trying to make it very calm, not too overbearing or overpowering. And again, more sort of carpeting sort of in this area here, where it's sort of kind of soft, because obviously they're only young children, and do like to sit on the floor, they're listening to a story or whatever.
So a very calm but flexible space that can be adapted over time to meet the needs of the children here being introduced to the school.
Sure, exactly. And we have to be careful about that. That's really, really important. And that is it.
Does that mean you won't be doing much this week then?
I'm always doing something, get on with it.
The first job was to replace bright buttercup yellow with something more soothing. And it was off with the old display boards. At Sherborne Fields School, there are special circumstances to be accommodated when the needs of children with severe learning difficulties are assessed.
In the main, we try and provide stimulating experiences for the student, and part of that has been to make the room stimulating. But this new group is very different in that if they were to come into a room like this, there would be too much on the walls for them to cope with. There'd be far too many distractions. They'd be stimulated by Venetian blinds that they could go over and touch and play with. They'd be stimulated by the number of computers that are in here and the books there that they want to pull out. And so we're really looking to create something very different with this room. Still meeting the needs of children, but their needs are such that they don't cope particularly well with unplanned stimulation. And so the room is going to be a room where stimulation around the walls and in the room itself is at a minimum.
So unlike other rooms at Sherborne Fields, the zoning of the new room needs very careful consideration. Autistic children's expectations of their school day need to be managed sensitively.
When they're on the carpet is a cue as to how they need to behave, and the carpet is also a cue as to how things are going to progress. So they know that if they're sitting at the tables, it's work, and they know that if they're sitting on the carpet, it's a group session where they can contribute and they can relax, and because uncertainty is a great troubler to quite a lot of youngsters.
Schools built in the 1960s are often criticised for not meeting modern teaching and learning needs. Often they were built with poor materials and are starting to disintegrate. Their classrooms don't really match modern curriculum needs. St Winifred's Roman Catholic Junior School in Lewisham was built in the end of the 1960s. Its radical design has stood the test of time. Octagonal classrooms with breakout spaces could have come straight from the government's Building Schools for the Future programme. We've been to see the school in action. St Winifred's in the Catholic Archdiocese of Southwark was built in 1969. Designed by architects Broadbent, Hastings, Reid and Todd, the school was constructed using high-quality materials. It's on a green and spacious site and is an example of far-sighted educational design.
The most innovative thing about the design at the time was the modular classrooms. The classrooms are divided into two octagonal pods, which are joined by ancillary mezzanine teaching areas. This allows for a variety of uses during the school day. 36 years on, the building still meets the original design specifications. We're fortunate to have the spaces much larger than normal classrooms, which allow for group work, individual work, paired work. These rooms are also used as storage areas for curriculum resources, which are easily accessible by all members of the school community. We have a general purpose hall. The hall's deployed in the morning for assemblies. At lunchtime, it's a dining hall. During the day, it's a specialist teaching area for our dance teacher, our music teacher, our drama teacher. It's also a place of worship for whole school liturgies and whole school masses. We're fortunate that we've got a hall big enough which will accommodate the entire school community with their parents present as well.
The small ancillary learning spaces alongside large octagonal classrooms are what make the architects who designed the school so innovative. They lend themselves very well to 21st century teaching and learning styles. In fact, many new schools are being built with breakout spaces for small group teaching, just like these.
One of the things that the architects couldn't have envisaged when they designed the school in the late 60s was the use of ICT as a core subject in the curriculum. We're very fortunate to have the space to have a purpose-built ICT suite with a complete network of computers. The building itself doesn't add greatly to the ease of networking. We've had to provide a wireless bridge between the buildings to ensure that all the classrooms have standalone internet access.
For an inner-city London school, St Winifred's is blessed with lots of green space.
The outside teaching area has also been octagonally designed to mirror or to reflect the design of the classrooms and the buildings themselves. Groups go out, they sit around the benches, they conduct reading lessons, story times.
In keeping with the original design, the school staff room has been extended for a team which is much bigger than it was in the 1960s. The head's office has also been enlarged, octagonally of course. Refurbishing the children's outside toilets was a priority. Modern loos replaced one of the elements of the original design that hasn't stood the test of time.
Nearly 40 years on, the architects have to be commended for their forward thinking. The school more than meets the needs of its pupils. The octagonal classrooms are quirky in design. They're also unique. It's a wonderful place to work. Knowing that you've got that breakout space, it allows for more individual, more group and more one-to-one work.
This now is interactive or a touch whiteboard.
It will be a touch screen, yes. So the children will be able to go up to it and make things happen. And some of them are quite small, so we don't want it too high on the wall.
It was very important that the height of the new interactive board was absolutely right if the students were going to be able to use it effectively.
Right, so where my knee is, about there.
Still lots of painting to be completed. And the mobile sensory units still have to be assembled. Oh, and yes, then they need painting.
The classroom is going to be used by very special children, and we've decided that we're going to zone this classroom. It's very important for these children to know exactly what they're doing and where they are during the day. As they enter, there's a very soft area. There's carpet on the floor, there's soft seating, there's fun boxes of storage. There, they can acclimatise the whole classroom. They then come over here. This is where they learn, and they're going to know they're going to learn here. We have a smart board on here, which they can come up, they can touch, they can feel. Then, they know exactly when they're in the classroom, what they're doing, where they are.
At Sherborne Fields, there's been a lot of investment in vital infrastructure and facilities. But recently, the head teacher has overseen the development of a school environment which is both attractive and stimulating for students and their teachers. It's been a very successful strategy.
David, this is a lovely tranquil space in the heart of your school, but I know you had to bring additional funding in to be able to do this.
Yes, it is beautiful, isn't it? Yes, we were successful in obtaining a £5,000 grant from a local DIY superstore, which enabled us to completely transform this area. It had fallen into disuse, it was derelict and dangerous, and thanks to this grant, we were able to transform it into this beautiful place that you see now.
And you're actually using this within the curriculum, aren't you, with some of the areas you've got in
Oh,
it?
yes, yes. Lessons take place in this area. We use the flora and fauna that you see around us as educational tools. Weather is recorded out here, compost is generated, horticulture is practiced. It serves many, many purposes.
David, I know with some of the children you have and the specialist equipment they need, you need wide circulation routes. Are there things that just don't work for you?
Yes, I mean, the school is quite spacious, but it's never quite spacious enough. And as you can see in this corridor here, there's a whole lot of equipment which ideally would be stored somewhere else. But it's in constant use, it's in daily use, it has to be accessible, and so it has to live in the corridor.
Now, you've got lots of ideas around the school for stimulating the children's senses, and this is a really interesting one. Tell me about it.
Yes, this is quite fascinating, yes. This is a sort of sensory calendar, I suppose you could call it, and it's to help children recognise what day of the week it is. It changes every day, and it greets them when they arrive in the morning. There's a smell of the day. Friday's smell was chocolate orange. Another day it might be peppermint. And then there's a piece of material which they can touch. It might be something hard and metallic like that piece, or it might be soft. And then there's a piece of music of the day. And every day's piece of music is very different. One day it might be some reggae, another day it might be a piece of classical music. And that all helps the children to orientate themselves and to make sense of their routines.
But every Friday they would know it's Friday.
Oh yes,
because
this is Friday's set of sensory stimulation, and if you come in on Monday, it'll be a different smell, a different piece of material, and a different piece of music.
So that adds to their comfort levels coming to school.
Indeed, yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Shall we continue with our tour?
Yes, sir.
David, this is just one of a range of specialist areas that you have in the school, isn't it?
Yes, this is our soft play area, and adjacent to this we have a sensory room behind me here. We also have a swimming pool, which doubles as a hydrotherapy pool. Yeah, because of the range of abilities and the wide age range that we cater for here, we have to have a whole gamut of different specialised resources.
I'm sure this is a great attraction for some of your students.
Oh, it's very popular, yes. Yeah, children can really let off steam here, and some of them will run around. They have great fun in here.
Another important element of the design was the provision of some new shelving. John Craig constructed an inexpensive unit from good old MDF. It was painted a pale blue to blend in with the shade chosen for the walls.
The government's Building Schools for the Future programme asked architects to create exemplar designs, radical new ideas to stimulate thinking on school buildings. BDP architects have created a beehive school with classrooms shaped like honeycomb. They interlock and surround learning spaces. And their idea is actually going to be realised in a new school building in Blackpool. BDP is one of Britain's biggest architectural practices with a lot of experience in designing schools. Their exemplar design for the Building Schools of the Future scheme was based on Hampton Gurney School, one of BDP's most innovative designs. It's a multi-storey school on a compact inner-city site, and its radical outdoor play decks and curved classrooms help lead the thinking towards the beehive concept.
The beehive school really came out of the idea that the classroom wouldn't just be a rectangle, but might be something a bit more interesting, something that could actually interlock and wrap and go around corners. So we looked at nature, and hence the beehive concept, the idea of a honeycomb classroom, a hexagonal classroom that could combine in plan to enclose space, but could also be extruded vertically, to use the analogy of a beehive, and actually create homes for little children. It's a tight urban site, so the school's vertically configured. It's on 5 floors, and the idea is that the children get older as they move up the school. It's also a two-sided approach, the idea that there's a light, airy southern side and then a more solid northern side. And this is to do with the idea of capturing sunlight, capturing air for the children, but then also providing good daylight to the classrooms. The classrooms themselves are really sort of rather modest. Obviously they're hexagonal in form, which we think makes them more interesting, but we haven't tried to make them sort of freaky or odd. They're basically quite understated, quite domestic. They have big openings, which are obviously familiar to children, simple lighting, simple materials. From the classrooms, there's direct access to the play decks, which can obviously be used for play, but also social functions. They can be used as learning environments. They can be used in good weather and bad. They provide shade and shelter. And this is a view moving around to the north side of the building, where you start to see the sort of the honeycomb appearance of the classroom blocks. Solid masonry walls which have good thermal properties, and then a view of the main staircase, which is the fulcrum between the beehive classroom blocks. And then the view of the building at night. So this is home time. The building's lit up as a beacon within the community.
BDP's design has been commissioned by Blackpool LEA to replace a school that was the victim of an arson attack. Due to open in September 2006, it's a first, a Building Schools for the Future concept that's actually going to be built.
The teaching spaces at Blackpool are on the first and second floors. Again, you can see the beehive classroom block configuration wrapping around the play decks. I think you can also see from the section that the original beehive concept of the public ground floor with the class bases and the play decks has been retained in its entirety, albeit it's been adapted to the site. At Hampden Gurney, the roof was developed as a technology garden, so this is really taking it a stage further and actually building in, real wildlife, real planting, real habitat, and it's very much seen as an outdoor teaching space rather than a play space. And one of the things that I think has been particularly interesting and successful is we have managed to get the building into its ideal configuration with south-facing play decks and north-facing classrooms. So I think it really has demonstrated that all that initial thinking was good thinking, and it actually works.
At Sherborne Fields, a lot of materials were recycled for the new room, and existing units were given a fresh lick of paint.
John, how's it going?
It's going well, as usual, of course. A hive of activity, as you can see, if you start with the walls. Sophie's marked this sort of border all the way around to sort of bring down the sort of colouring and clean all that up there. There's been shelves been made for storage. There's been boxes made for storage with casters on it that can be wheeled around.
And these boxes are going to be a lot of fun, aren't they? But you're keeping it a secret from me. What's going to happen with them?
A secret, well, actually, because I'm not too sure myself, but all I know is they're going to be very tactile, very, very touchy-feely. Tim has been doing the sink, getting all that done. Pinboard's been taken off. Ali's been rushing around making me tea. It's just been crazy, but we're getting there.
The staff room is one of the most important spaces in a school. It's where staff come to relax, to prepare, to discuss practice. But too often they're overcrowded, the furniture needs modernisation, and they need to be brought up to date. So here are some ideas to cheer up your staff room. Marking, exchanging ideas, having a coffee, important staff room activities. Modern furniture makes a huge difference. Good storage keeps down the clutter. Personal storage space is very useful. And these units contain an all-in-one kitchen. Very clever. The British Educational Suppliers Association have a code of practice which their members comply with. You can find details of all these products on the Teachers TV website.
Is the new whiteboard at the right height?
And where is my knee?
Oh, perfect.
The mobile sensory units were finished using recycled textiles.
Nearly finished, John?
Nearly, actually. I'll tell you what's going to happen now. Finish this box off with the painting and everything, all the bits are on the side. The other one's going to be done as well. There's furniture to go around here, and there's some tables and a computer to come in and some storage. And it's all done.
Fantastic.
The brief was to create a space suitable for children with severe learning difficulties, including autism. It had to have different learning zones within the space, yet avoid too much stimulation for the children using it. A rather redundant room was transformed into a functional and flexible space with plenty of storage. And a subtle colour scheme would help minimise uncertainty in the minds of the children using the room.
John, quite a simple design this week, but quite a transformation.
I think personally, out of the rooms that we're doing, I think the simple ones are really working. It just goes to show you don't have to do a vast amount to make a big, big difference. The children have never, ever been to this class. And when they come in, it's going to be a very strange environment. The idea is, as they come in, they actually have a nice sort of relaxing area, if you like, with its carpet as opposed to lino, trendy little seats, these storage boxes, which are also tactile, little pads on the side. And of course there's other fabrics and bits and pieces for them to play with. And not only that, they move, which is really handy. The colouring on the walls also is equally as important. Some may say it's bland, but it's not. It's supposed to be a relaxing colour, you know, not too powerful. From what I can gather, you know, big, strong colours is exactly the opposite to what they want. They need to feel relaxed. We have some new tables and chairs here. Again, we have a small carpet area here because some of the children obviously will be on the floor again, and we don't want them rubbing their knees against hard lino. And the smartboard. And the smartboard also at a particular height. On this occasion, it was my knee actually that gauged the height. But obviously, if they come up with it on their wheelchair, they're low down, they can actually interact with the board.
So it's very much a blank canvas as the children arrive, as their needs are assessed by the staff. The room can be adapted and tailored to their individual requirements.
Very much so, yes, exactly. Normally we finish a place off, but this is a room that I think will grow in time according to the children they have there.
The budget for the new room was a little over £2,000.
David, the room's all finished now. What do you think?
It's really fabulous. I'm delighted. To be honest, it surpassed my expectations. I was afraid it was all going to be rather bland and dull, but in fact it's really nice. It has a nice atmosphere. It's totally changed the appearance and the feel of the room.
And I'm assuming that as the children come, this is going to be an area that you're going to adapt and build up over time to meet their needs.
It's got to be. It's got to be a dynamic, changing area, yes. Yes. How it developed, we won't know yet, but time will tell. You'll have to come back and see it in a few years' time.
I think it's been a real challenge for us this week, working on a design when the children haven't even reached the school yet. But I think it's been a really great challenge, and your expert advice has helped us enormously in adapting the design as we've gone.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you, and with you certainly risen to the challenge. These are children who we don't really know yet either, so to some extent we're in the same boat, but I'm sure this is going to make a lovely learning environment for them. And on behalf of those children and the staff and all who are going to work in here, can I thank you and the team very much indeed.
Thank you. We hope they enjoy it as well.
I'm sure they will.
If you've been involved in an exciting design project or would like help to transform an area of your school, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact us through the Teachers TV website, where you'll also find details of today's programme. From Sherborne Fields School in Coventry, it's goodbye from all change.